Well, Mr. John Shark Hanlon, we're coming to the end of the season. We have Punchestown on the horizon. But before we get to that, we must discuss this potentially the story of the season. £600. Take it away.
Yeah, it was great.
I remember being in Tipperary in September and she won there.
Yes.
And I thought she had done marvellous then. And if nothing else more had happened, that was a good story. That was only the beginning.
It was a great start. That day it was 3 miles soft ground. I honestly thought going to Tipperary that the ground was too soft, and I moved her from, she was only after been running bumpers to go over hurdles over 3 miles. I was just throwing out the flag to see what was going to happen. And she ended up being very good in it. There was a horse in it, belonged to Punchestown, I wanted 3 horse. And I said to Jodie, jump her out the back, let her travel away, wherever you finish, I'll be happy.
And you were happy.
I was delighted.
And the season progressed, and she progressed with the season. Now, we're talking, what were your realistic ambitions going from a 3 mile hurdle at Tipperary? Did you think she could end up being what she has?
Definitely not, because she was probably the worst workhorse I've ever had. If I worked her again, an 0 to 95 horse, he'd isolate her if he was anywhere middling at all. And her work at home in my gallop and in Dunning gallop was brutal. But the first day I brought her to the Curragh, I could see the change again. And every time I brought her away, she'd work brilliant. But just on my own gallop, Dunning gallop, whatever it's about, she don't work well.
She doesn't break her heart. And maybe that's what makes her good, because mid-season you gave her a break and you targeted Cheltenham.
Yeah.
And she ran huge there.
Yeah, probably Cheltenham, maybe I shouldn't have ran her in. It was only 2 mile. She's a 2.5 mile mare, or maybe even 2.6. But the boys, I told the boys when she won the listed race, I said, we're going to go to Cheltenham. And the excitement was high. And from the day she won the listed race and she got to Cheltenham, everything was going to plan and the boys were having the ball. She cost very little money, so they were very happy. And she went on and won the graded race then. She was very good in the north the day she won the graded race. And after that I said, I'm going to give her a break. We didn't go to Leopardstown for Christmas, or we didn't go for the festival. And I said, we'll go fresh to Cheltenham. And my mind the whole time was the 2.5 mile in Fairyhouse. That was the race I had targeted, because I knew going to Cheltenham the 2 mile was just that little bit sharp for her. But she still ran a cracker, and she done all her best work coming home.
Well, that day at Fairyhouse, we opened the Racing Post, and I can imagine any journalist who rings a trainer or a jockey looking for a quote, you want them to speak their mind, and rarely you get the words, I think she's a certainty.
Yeah, she came home out of Cheltenham so well, and we had taken on all the mares in Cheltenham nearly that was in the race, and there was one or two, just one of Willie's and one of Henry's. That Henry's one, I thought she wanted soft ground. I saw her winning on soft ground, and Henry took her over a couple of races last year on good ground. So the better the ground got, I was kind of putting her away. And I brought her, the only time she ever done and half middling in Dunninga was the day before. I'd done very little for her between Cheltenham and Fairyhouse. And I brought her up to Dunninga, and I just put her with a horse. He's very ornery. I let the horse on in front, and she just came up by him swinging. And it wasn't really that. Coming back down the road, my God, she was on her springs, so she was. And she was never like that before.
She was peaking at the right time.
She was just peaking. And the papers rang me about a half an hour after I was coming out of Dunninga with her. I was only after going down the road. I was after ringing Cahill about her, and I said, listen, this mare, she's flying. I couldn't have her better. And when the papers rang me, he said, what do you think the headings will be after Fairyhouse? I said, sure, she's certainly for Fairyhouse.
First grade 1 for John Shark Hanlon, and that's you were like the fortune teller. You were telling him the future.
Sure, listen, it was great, and it happened.
Yeah.
So it was, if it hadn't happened, I probably would have to go hide for the rest of my life. And I'm not that
at all, but you just had belief in your mare.
I had serious belief in her.
And like, you went and bought her. She had been with Willie Mullins. She's been the greatest return on investment of all time,
Of all
a 600 pound mare into what she's earned over 120 at this stage. And now she's going for an extremely valuable race at the Punchestown Festival. Are you happy?
I'm very happy. Very happy. She came home out of the race. In fairness, she didn't know she had a race. And I gave her a little bit of time off on the walker out in the paddock every day. And this morning, I was at home there this morning, and we don't ride out on a Sunday. We never ride a horse on a Sunday. I had to put her on the walker. She was in the box squealing. So she's telling me herself she's well.
Yeah. Well, have you found the phone is a little bit busier since the Skyace story? Have you been Mr. Popular?
We're getting a few more horses, and the boys that own Skyace, Cahill is a very good person, and he's putting us in to get together in Dubai, and they're after buying 3 or 4 horses off me.
Well, their enthusiasm on their coverage of this race at Fairyhouse was infectious, and I'm hoping that Skyace will lead to better things. And I'm sure her story isn't fully written yet, so
hopefully not for this year.
It's been inspiring and has given so many people hope that they one day could come across this race.
Anyone, if you're not in, you can't win in this game. And like, there's plenty of people out there saying, oh, I'd love to have a horse, but I can't afford it. But if you put 10 people together, everyone can afford it, and it's not that expensive. And you could end up with a Skyace.
You could. You have to be in it.
You have to be in.
Well, that's been a pleasure, and I hope we're back again next year talking about the next Skyace.
Please God. Thanks.